Alright, what is good, y'all? Hope this video finds you well. So I just wanted to continue touching on the topic that I spoke of last time, which was mindfulness and meditation. And last time I spoke about how mindfulness and meditation are one and the same and how they are different. And so in this particular video, I wanted to speak a little bit more about why mindfulness. In particular, why mindfulness for me, what does mindfulness mean for me, why in the world did I say that they were different, and then ultimately, how is it that mindfulness has played a role in my world. So for me, like I said, mindfulness and meditation are different. They're one and the same, but they are different. And something popped into my head recently that made it a little bit more clear for me, and I think maybe it'll paint a picture for some of y'all, so I'm just going to share it. And it is that meditation lets us see the water, mindfulness lets us be the water. I'll say that again. Meditation lets us see the water, mindfulness lets us be the water. And I thought that was just something interesting that popped into my head because I felt very aligned with that statement, and there was some truth to that for me in terms of how I saw them to be different, but also the fact that even traditionally one does come before the other. And when I say traditionally, I do mean in Eastern spiritual traditions. And ultimately, when we look at those traditions, we see that there are different forms of meditation, and that ultimately as well, mindfulness is one of the first skills, if you will, that one learns or one undertakes in order to further their practice towards which in that particular time it was enlightenment. I think in the 21st century it could be different, and ultimately I think for me, I'm not here to speak about enlightenment. I'm ultimately here to give individuals a tool to utilize in their everyday life. And so to speak a little bit more on the tradition and a little bit more on maybe some of the roots of these words, I wanted to speak about some of the Sanskrit or Pali terms of these words. And so first I'll start off with meditation, which is a more formally known word, I think, overall in our culture and around the world. And so meditation comes from the word dhyana or dhyana, and I might be mispronouncing that, and somebody please definitely let me know if I am. And then you can break that down even further into dhya, D-H-Y-A-I, and that means to contemplate, right? So I think previously in the last video I spoke about how meditation to me feels more like an intention. It leads us or guides us to a particular place, and how mindfulness just allows us to be, not much doing or being. And so this in particular, the Sanskrit description, if you will, or the Sanskrit origins of the word, I think give a little bit more clarity to my statement, and also why I'm differentiating the two. And then we can even break that down even further and just use the root of dhya, which is dhi, D-H-I, and that is to have an imaginative vision. And that comes from the Vedas, which is a book that is utilized in the Hindi religion, and that also is, if you will, a term that is used to describe and or a power that is given to the goddess Saraswati. Probably said that wrong, correct me, like I said. And so ultimately what this feels like to me is that even as we look into the traditions of meditation and mindfulness, there is a distinction even within its origins. And so to speak a little bit about the Sanskrit and the Pali versions of mindfulness and the roots of this term, mindfulness in Pali is sati, and it is spelled in Sanskrit S-M-R-T-I, and I'm not gonna butcher that because I'm sure I will. So that means our active, watchful mind. And so I think to me that seems very different than our imaginative vision. Even though it's the same and or might come from the same place, I do find those to be different. So I wanted to give a little bit more information on some of the origins of these terms, and maybe why I clump them into two distinct sections or two distinct ideas, and yet I still think that they are the same idea. And so then I want to then just touch on why mindfulness for me personally. And so mindfulness for me has this ability to allow us to just sit with what is going on, and it just has this ability to give us space to then create a meditative state. I feel that mindfulness can have so many different applications throughout our life, and it also can be something that you can use from moment to moment. And I do feel that there is a benefit to having a practice. And I do also feel that there is a need to distinguish the two, especially in our modern day world where there's so many new ideas and thoughts being thrown at us. I feel like for me, I really like to break things down and understand them a little deeper before I implement them into my life. And so then that leads me into, if you will, why mindfulness and how it plays a role in my life. And I think I was introduced into meditation and mindfulness at a young age through different familial members and or through karate. We were practicing meditation in different forms when I was practicing karate at a young age, and I feel like for me that really led me into a future use of the practice. And so then, not to get too much wrapped up into the story, but for me I found mindfulness yet again a little bit later in life. I would say right after high school, first year of college, second year of college, and then really continued to hone in on the practice so much that I decided to study it a little bit further, and now present day I use it daily. I also use it with individuals who I work with, and like I said, I also use it with myself as much as possible. And when I say as much as possible, I mean for me, mindfulness is definitely a moment-to-moment daily practice that we can incorporate. It doesn't have to just be on the cushion. I feel that one time someone told me about this idea that we practice on the cushion, and that sometimes people, that's all the only place that they practice, and yet that's not what our practice is about. Our practice doesn't have to have an ultimate agenda, or it doesn't have to reach an ultimate goal, and yet why is it that we practice? Well, for me, it helps me feel centered, it helps me deal with certain realities that we all just experience, and so on and so forth. And then ultimately, I think for everybody it takes on its own meaning. So for me, I think we should all find our own meaning to what mindfulness is for us. So that's what I'll say about why mindfulness, why what it's done for me in my life. And ultimately, I'll leave it at that. I'll save a little bit more for the next video. And I hope that this was informative and that individuals could gain some value from this. And let me know what you thought, and let me know if you have any ideas or inputs about what mindfulness has done for you. And stay tuned as I continue to explore and discuss mindfulness, and also as I continue to work towards releasing some literature for us all to partake in, as well as some videos for us to follow along with. Hope you have a blessed day. See y'all in the next video. Ashe.